Hi, this is Ed Feingold, editor of BillingViews, and here we are back at the Whiteboard. Last time we talked about multi-device subscriptions. Today we're going to talk about multi-subscription devices. I had a couple of people ask, hey Ed, why aren't you in the video and just your arm is in the video? And it's a pretty simple answer. I'm not comfortable being on camera right now. I've got a 1-year-old, I haven't slept in about a year, my face looks like a saddlebag, so I'm going to spare you all the horror and jump right into the subject matter. Let's focus on the topic at hand. So first, let's define the problem. What's the problem related to multi-subscription devices? Well, this is our friend Torvalder, following Alex's advice and trying to be a little more global. So this is our friend Tor in Norway. And so Tor makes a bunch of different calls during the course of his day. He calls his wife, his mother, his kid's school, obviously his boss a bunch of times, multiple arrows there, bunch of customers, bunch of colleagues, a few conference bridges, and at some point he calls the IT help desk for some help with his PC. And so what happens is he's doing it all from the same device. And that's a device, let's say, that he brought with him, right, in this new BYOD, bring your own device trend we're seeing. But what happens is that he's got one subscription attached to that device. He's got all these different people that he needs to call. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the month, what he needs to do is take his invoice in order to expense it and mark off what's what and put them into the right buckets. So, wife, mom, school, those are me. Everything else goes to work. I get to break those out. Let's talk about some of the things operators are doing now to try to make our friend Tor's life a little bit easier when it comes time to file his expense report and break out his personal versus his business use of his bring his own device. I actually spoke with Uri Gurovitz from Amdocs about this, and he's saying that as they go out and talk to operators and do their research on this, they're seeing an emerging maturity curve of capabilities that are either on the drawing board or starting to be implemented. So today we're down here with manual audits, which we know puts a big burden on Tor. It isn't the most efficient way to do things. Where that's then evolving to is an idea of a corporate address book, so that there's an automated system where the auditing's done. It's able to ping the corporate address book, and any numbers that are on the bill that are in the corporate address book can be tagged automatically as business usage. You then take a step up to learning applications, which could leverage this capability with the corporate address book and do some automated tagging, but would also leverage just remembering from a manual audit perspective what was tagged last month, what numbers were personal, what numbers were business. They appear on the bill again, and this is going to learn and automatically tag them as business versus personal. And then all that Tor needs to tag at that point are the deltas. You're really minimizing the effort that he needs to make at that point. Where you start to get a bit more sophisticated, Uri says, is in the idea of app containers. So there's two pieces to this. One is the billing side, just the idea, like we're talking about, that some apps are clearly for business purposes and billed as such, or expensed as such, and others are for personal uses. But what also happens as we evolve is on the back end and the network needs to be smart enough to understand that if someone's using a personal app, that may just get the sort of regular open treatment, but may also be exposed to things like Tor's preferences or parental controls. But on the flip side, if it's a business-oriented service, then you start having things like QoS, SLAs, security concerns come into play. Some of those apps need to be treated according to the policies associated with the business. And then finally, out here on the maturity curve, we would see toggling. And the idea with toggling is just that you would have Tor actually toggling between personal and business mode depending on the calls he was making or the services that he's using. And however that phone is toggled, would identify obviously whether it's personal or business use, which could be passed into the bill and also passed into this idea of how the network treats the traffic that's coming across. Not foolproof because a lot of times we forget to toggle, but would be a nice step in the right direction. And that's where we see this headed and where we're starting to see the thinking going on. How do we deal with this bring your own device problem and the breakout between personal and business services? So ultimately where we want to get to is a status where we have multi-subscription devices, so multiple subscriptions that a single device can draw upon. And so just as a simple example here, right, here's Tor's personal bucket of services, and if you think about it, that actually could represent or be tied to a family plan. right? So all of his personal usage is actually leveraging all the great deals that you get in family plans these days. His wife, his son, his daughter, they're all in the same bucket, but that's all for his personal usage, and it's separated from his corporate usage. And so here's a corporate plan he's on that the corporation controls, which might also be part of a corporate pooled plan that he may be pulling from. So it's really an issue of assigning the usage to the appropriate bucket. All of this is representing one customer. It's a couple of different subscriptions, or one user. It's a couple of different subscriptions paid by different people, controlled by different people, but within each silo here, so to speak, being able to draw on the features that each one of these groups already likes. As I said, family plans, pooling on this side, and more of the shared services models that we're starting to see emerge.